MCQ number 1, which of the following statements are true with respect to accounts and records? All accounts and records are to be retained for 6 years. True or false? True. True. Stock record is to be maintained by all registered dealers except the dealers registered under composition scheme. True or false? True. Because composition scheme dealer is not required to maintain T and S. I for ma. TS not required. Okay. So yesterday we made a table na. In the table you can see person opting for composition scheme, T and S is not required. Then next, stock record is to be maintained by all registered person including composition scheme. False. Composition scheme dealer not required to maintain T and S. Okay. Then next, monthly production. So far 1 and 2 is the correct statements. Monthly production records are to be maintained by all dealers except the dealers who have taken option for composition scheme. False. So it is false. Monthly production records are to be maintained by all dealers including the composition. Yes, even composition scheme dealers are required to maintain monthly production records. So 1, 3, 1, 2, 5. Records are to be maintained at principal place of business. True or false? Yes. We have to maintain at, they are not telling records are only maintained at principal place of business. Records are to be maintained at principal place of business. True. If they say records are to be maintained only in principal place of business, then the statement is wrong, because it is not only in principal place of business but also additional place of business. So what is the correct option for this? 1, 2, 5, 6. So option A is the answer. 1, 2, 5, 6. The next, second one, registered person has to maintain his records for a period of directly given. Option A, 72 months from the due date of filing annual return for the relevant financial year. Then ABC is a tea manufacturer. It has appointed Mr. C as auctioneer for conducting auction of his tea. ABC has stored his stock of tea into godowns registered with Tea Board of India and has declared such godown as its additional place of business. Which of the following option is correct as to maintenance of accounts under GST? What is your answer? A, sale of tea lying in godown. Account shall be maintained at godown as it is additional place of business. No. No. Sale of tea lying at godown. Account shall be maintained at principal place of business of ABC, as maintenance of accounts at additional place of business is not feasible practically. Correct. B, sale of tea lying in godown. Account shall be maintained at principal place of business after intimating proper officer that maintenance of additional place of business accounts. No need to intimate. So therefore for the third one, sale of tea, we have to intimate. So C is only correct answer. We have to intimate. So we have to intimate the officer that it is practically not possible to maintain at that place. So therefore we need to. Okay. Next, registered person supplying services shall maintain the account showing services, quantity details of goods used in provision of service, details of services supplied, details of input service utilized, all the above. So service provider is required to maintain details of goods and services, extra information you see, details of goods and services utilized for providing the outward supply. Then the owner or the operator of godown shall store the goods dash and dash. This point we discussed. Usually how the goods will be stored, item wise and so owner wise. Item wise and owner wise it needs to be. Okay. Item wise, owner wise, because it can be easily identified now for that reason. Whether the transporter who has obtained a unique enrollment number will dash be eligible to use any of the GSTIN of such person, use only such number in all communication, use either GSTIN or enrollment number at the discretion of the transporter. B, use only such number in all the communications. Okay. So transporter who has obtained a unique enrollment number, he need to use that only. First of all, which transporter will obtain unique enrollment number? That transporter who is unregistered. Why? They will have GSTIN. Correct. They will not have GSTIN. The owner or operator of godown shall store the goods in such manner that it shall facilitate any dash or dash by the proper officer. So either physical verification or inspection by the proper officer. So 7C. Then, which of the following statement is incorrect? Owner of warehouse who has obtained UEN should amend the details in the portal if such person has shifted the warehouse. True. Whenever they change the address, they have to intimate. True. Multiple UENs are required to transporter or warehouse keeper if they are doing business in different states. False. They are not required because single UEN across the country. If records are maintained in electronic form, proper backup has to be maintained and it is obligation of the person who is required to maintain such records. True. Then 9th one, Kunal has kept some of his goods at Rahul's warehouse without any documentation in the view that Rahul is his friend and he does need documentation for such goods. During an investigation, proper officer found them and considered it as, I told you one point, if the goods are not accounted and it is identifiable at your place, it is deemed that those goods are supplied and GST will be payable. So, officer found them or considered it as supply of goods to whom? Rahul by Kunal. No. Supply of such goods as an agent to Rahul by Kunal. Goods belonging to Kunal. Okay. So, here in whose warehouse it is identified? Kunal has kept some of his goods at Rahul's warehouse. Okay. Rahul's warehouse. So, it is treated as sale of goods to Rahul. Correct. Why it is treated as sale of goods to Rahul? That's what. When the goods are unaccounted, which means that those goods are, supplied, deemed to have been supplied without any documentation in the view that Rahul is his friend. Okay. Supply of such goods to Rahul by Kunal. That is the deeming fiction. So, GST will be payable on that. So, that is the answer for this. So, see this, if the goods are found without a cover of valid documents, the proper officer shall determine the amount of tax payable on such goods as if such goods have been supplied by the registered person. Then, descriptive question number 1. Mala Services Limited is a supplier of management consultancy services registered in Haryana. It has approached you to ascertain the period for which the books of accounts or other records needs to be maintained. Time limit 72 months from the due date of filing annual return for the relevant financial year. Suppose if a particular financial year they go for appeal, then in that case it will be 1 year from the outcome of that appeal or 72 months from the due date of filing annual return, whichever is later. Then question number 2, Swad restaurant has opted for composition scheme in the current financial year. Discuss the records which are not to be maintained by a supplier opting for composition scheme. What are the records not to be maintained? Stock of goods and details of tax. But like that you cannot write just like that. Stock of goods means description. What is that? Stock of goods refers to the details of the goods which is stored at address, proper address need not be maintained, and tax details means which tax details? Input tax as well as output tax. Those details not required to be maintained. Then question number 3, ABC Manufacturers Limited engages Raghav & Sons as an agent to sell goods on its behalf, wherein the invoice for supply or procurement on behalf of ABC Manufacturers Limited is issued by Raghav & Sons in its own name. For the purpose, ABC Manufacturers Limited has supplied the goods to Raghav & Sons located in Haryana. Enumerate the accounts required to be maintained by Raghav & Sons as per Rule 56 sub Rule 11. Agent. What are the records to be maintained by agent? See the table. I formats plus detail, copy of authorization with respect to each principal plus account statement with respect to each principal. Correct? Then that is what we need to write. In addition to I formats, these details. Whether the transporters who are not registered under GST are required to maintain any records under the provisions of CGST Act, also explain if any other unregistered person are required to maintain records under GST. So, who are the two unregistered persons required to maintain records in GST? Warehouse keeper and transporter. Even though not registered, they need to maintain and they need to get a unique enrollment number. And what are the records to be maintained by a warehouse keeper if they are unregistered? Details of goods stored and details of the depositor, what is the date on which goods are deposited, what is the date on which goods are disposed of, or is there any destruction, value of goods, etc. Then what are the records to be maintained by unregistered transporter? So like what is the description of the goods, GSTN of the consignor, that is details of consignor, details of consignee, vehicle number, and delivery address, and if there is any storage, temporary storage, that details. Okay, that's what you need to write for this. Then list any 4 records required to be maintained by agent under CGST rules. Same already it is asked. Then question number 6, comment on the given independent situation relating to GST procedure. Your answer should include relevant provisions of law as may be applicable. Go to Dress is a chain of stores dealing in ready-made garments through 5 showrooms in Delhi. It has a single GSTIN for all its showrooms in Delhi and has principal place of business at Karol Bagh, Delhi. One of the consultants has suggested them to maintain books of accounts of all its 5 showrooms at principal place of business at Karol Bagh, Delhi for better administration and control. Should the records be maintained with respect to all its place of business in that Karol Bagh, Delhi principal place? Yes. In addition to that, they need to maintain the accounts and records at that 5 different place of business also pertaining to that particular showrooms. Okay, clear? This is section 35. So these are the type of questions which may come. The probability of asking a question on accounts and records is very, very less. Maybe in MCQ 1 question may come, and theory also maybe out of 3 attempts, 1 attempt a question may come on accounts and records, but we cannot leave it now. So what if it is now this September attempt? What if that 1 attempt out of the 3 attempts is the September attempt? So we should not take a chance. That's why I made it simple for you. What you need to remember, what are the various accounts and records, and that page you need to remember what is the period for which accounts and records to be maintained. So you are able to answer these questions in a little bit, that is enough. Okay.